My friends, do you have a message? So instantly you look at your text messages or you look in Messenger to see if you've gotten a message. Do you have something that you want to share with the world? Do you have something in your heart that everyone needs to hear? Let's talk about getting the word out. I'm Kathy Weaver, and I am definitely part of the fan club for Delinda Lane and the fun, fearless female global community of Christian women. And you guessed it, it's Words of Wisdom Wednesday again. I heard from a friend, which is where I get most of my video content here. I wish I could do a podcast. We've talked about that before on Words of Wisdom Wednesday. I wish I could do a podcast. Now, of course, there are professional podcasters out there that make fortunes doing their podcasts. That's fantastic. But for me, the opportunity to get the word out on a video platform as large as YouTube, and then let God do the work to decide how that message is going to get out there and where it's going to go. In my personal opinion, that's not up to us. I talk about my company all the time. Enagic, my company that I've been with for 17 years, doesn't pay my salary. Jesus Christ does. I say that in every group I'm in. He puts me in the path of the person who needs a water machine. Next thing you know, I'm training a new team member. It has happened that way for me for 17 years. I love being able to help other people. That lights me up. And how do you get the word out about the dynamic message that you have? Podcast is easy. Hashtag podcast. Now, there are podcasters out there who I have heard are always looking for podcast guests. So when I get to do a one-on-one with them, whether they say, I want to pick your brain, we talked about that here, or can you help me with, most of the time, if my schedule permits, which is getting a little nuts right now. I just noticed another ding coming in. The will you help me with the something? For me, the answer is push a button. You can't break anything, and set up a Zoom background. That's for me, it's the easiest. And Zoom for me is very cost effective. It's relatively inexpensive when you do the math. Set up a Zoom background. And how do I do that? Go to YouTube, how to set up a Zoom background. I use PowerPoint, I use Canva, I use Instagram layout. There's all different kinds of systems that you can use out there, and get anything that you want for a background with your message or your logo. Obviously, with my podcast as Kathy Chat, I have a logo. And when you think in terms of how to get that logo and everything out there in the world, everyone starts at one guest speaker, one podcast, one YouTube subscriber, one follower on Instagram, one. Everyone starts at one. So please consider, just do it. Again, we've talked about this before, and I am still hearing from people, I wish I could do a podcast. There's no wish. Push a button on Zoom, record it, upload it to your YouTube channel, all free, free, free. And the next thing you know, you're a podcaster. Then you're looking for podcast guests. So where will you go for a podcast guest? Most people are out there having this incredible message. Oh my gosh, I wish I could tell the world. Why not tell the world? Now, for some people, it's uncomfortable to get on a screen and talk to yourself. I get that. I love it when I'm on Kathy Chat because I have someone to talk to chat with, and that rocks my world. And being a guest on Kathy Chat, then they get to take the video and use that all over their own social media platforms. It's a very cool system when you let someone in on your podcast. And so now they've got a chance right off the bat to share that video, and that means their message all over the place. And that for me is the edification part. So, guest of the week, will your name be here? That's why I put this out here. If you're going to have a podcast, are you going to do it weekly? Are you going to do it monthly? Are you going to do it bi-monthly? Are you going to do it every day? Are you going to do one every hour? Whatever your system or your schedule permits, that's great. Who is your guest going to be? If you type in a search bar, podcast guest, The people who have hashtagged correctly will pop up. It lets Google know, hello, I'm out here. I want to be a podcast guest. And now they'll be able to find you. And if your contact information is effectively correct, they'll be able to connect with you and say, hey, I've got a podcast. Would you like to be my guest? And then, of course, what's the topic? You just said a second ago you've got a message to share, but no one's out there to listen. My friends, that's not our job. As soon as you put something out on social media, you get 1 million followers on this or 3. You get 22 followers on this or 0. It's not our job. We do the best we can to get our message out there, and God does the rest. I've seen it. That's how he works. Delinda Lane and the Fun Fearless Female global community of Christian women is a dynamic platform to post your message, to put the word out about your product, your service, your podcast. Perfect opportunity to get podcast guests. But if you don't hashtag podcast and you don't hashtag podcast guest, how is anybody going to find you? Remember that video I did, little goggles and a hat, is your business in the witness protection program? Do you not want to be found? I just looked at your page. You apparently don't want to be found. And if that's your deal, that's fine. But if you want to be found, you want to get the message out there, you want the world to know about your whatever the topic is, podcasting is a very cool way to do it, especially if it's podcast video instead of just the audio part. Those obviously are very successful and there are professionals out there. Go to YouTube, how to create a professional podcast. Absolutely. For me, being able to edify my friends has been so fantastic. And then, as I said, it's up to God who's going to see it, who he's going to plant in my literal network to be able to share what they do. So if you haven't been a guest on a podcast, if you're looking for guests on your podcast and you haven't done it yet, now you've got a new way to find them. You want to be a guest on someone else's show because I'm not doing a podcast. I just want to be a guest. Okay. When I go to your profile page and not one place on there, the about section, the featured section, the nothing section, not one place does it say podcast, podcast guest, message to share, YouTube, video, shorts, algorithm, organic traffic. Hello? You don't have to write this down. You don't have to write this down. It's second nature. And if it's not second nature to you yet, in my opinion, pray about it. He will put the perfect people in your path. Say that fast, really fast, 3 times. It's back to that same drill. Lord, where do you want me to be? How do you want this message to get out there? I've got something to share with the planet. How do I do that? And for me, being a podcast host, and certainly now I've gotten to be a podcast guest all over the place, I love being able to take that podcast and share it on social media. And then, by the way, it's been a year or 2, the message is similar, repurpose it. I call it cross-pollinate. You put it on your YouTube channel, you record it on Zoom, you're going to put it on Instagram, you put it on, maybe you're going to even go live on Facebook. Yay. You're going to put it on LinkedIn, you're going to put it on your featured section. You're going to feature it to the top of your profile. Think about all the cool things you can do because you've got a dynamic message. And how are you going to get the word out? Who's going to be the guest of the week? Is your name going to be here as your podcast person promotes you? And are you going to go, all right, okay, I can do a podcast? Because the answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Please, my friends, your message is huge. Let him work in your life. Let it happen. Push the button. I'm pushing one now. Bye.